Have you ever felt lost about what is your God-given purpose? You're finding yourself like going through life and you not really sure why you are here. Well, the truth is that you're not by yourself. Many of us have felt that way, me included, and millions of other people. But in today's episode, I want to walk you through 4 things that I think you can do to help you identify your purpose so that you can, stop going through life aimlessly and start doing it with intention. So welcome back to another episode of the You, Me, and Jesus podcast, where we talk about all things you, me, and Jesus. Today, we're talking about purpose. And, anytime I am spending time with people, especially Christians, oftentimes one of the questions that I get asked is, how do I know what I'm created to do, to be? Like, how do I identify what my purpose is? And I know the feeling of going through life and you're just existing, you're working, you're whatever, but you don't really have a genuine purpose in life. You don't feel like you have a genuine purpose in life. You feel lost, you feel maybe a little bit hopeless. And, you just have these moments of like, you're seeing people do these amazing things or feel, you think that they're so sure of who they are and what they're doing, and you just feel lost. So I 100%, I get that, and I can't even say that I'm like, oh, I know 100% I'm doing 100% of what I'm created to do or be. But I'm just saying that I understand the lack of fulfillment, the lack of direction when it comes to purpose. And so I wanted to have a conversation and talk about things that I think that you can do to identify your purpose. So one of the things that you don't want to do is you don't want to just ask people and them tell you this is your purpose. Right? Like, people are amazing. Pastors, preachers, prophets are amazing. But the last thing you want to do is try to figure out who you are and called to be and let somebody else tell you what that is. That's the last thing that you're going to want to do. You can go to people for confirmation and counsel and wisdom, but the final say has got to come from God. Like, it just has to come from God, because if you go on a path of say, this person said, this is who I am and this is who I'm called to be, and you go down that road and it's the wrong road, first of all, at some point in time, you're going to be miserable. Right. Second thing is there's not going to be a lot of favor on that road because you're on the wrong road. Right. And it just takes you off track. You know what I mean? Like, if you're trying to get to Chicago and you're in Texas and somebody gives you directions to San Diego, you can follow those directions all you want. You're not getting to Chicago. You are going to San Diego. OK. Great place to be. Love San Diego, but it's not where you're trying to go, right? And so it's the same thing when it comes to identifying your purpose. So I have 5 things that I wrote down here. If when someone comes to me and asks me, I'm trying to identify my purpose, how could I do that? All right. So number 1, the first thing that I want you to just identify and write it down on a sheet of paper. What are you passionate about? I'm not saying that's your purpose, but what are you passionate about? Just identify that, right? I love public speaking. I have always loved public speaking, right? I wasn't always good at it, but I've always loved speaking, and I just love public speaking. So I'm passionate about it. I love it. I also love encouraging people. I love to see people go from one phase or stage in life and they are growing and elevating and so on and so on. I love seeing people grow, I'm passionate about seeing people just healed and whole, like just really like going with inside themselves and identifying like, oh, here are some patterns, behaviors, whatever, and becoming a better version of themselves, right? Like growing in all different types of ways, but like, and then that one. And I'm very passionate about people not being broke. I grew up very poor, and I'm passionate about the fact that God says that we can have more, that we're supposed to be the lender and not the borrower. So I'm passionate about people learning how to create something that allows them to be the lender and not the borrower, right? So that's the first thing. You want to identify, what are you passionate about? That's going to give you just a little bit of clarity, okay? Second thing I want you to do is I want you to identify, if you were not getting paid, What would you do over and over and over again? Some of you guys would say, I would go to the mission field and I would serve the church. I would preach, right? I would pray. I would do makeup for women that have been abused. I would rescue people out of human trafficking, whatever, right? Like what is it that you're like, if I never got paid for this, I would do this. Like I would just do it and do it and do it. Granted, you got to eat to live. You got to have money, right? But if you had all the money, what would you do? And you would just do it so effortlessly. What would that be? Write that down. The third thing that I want you to do is I want you to ask yourself, when you ask people in your life, and ask them, when you ask people in your life, what do they think your purpose is? What do they say? Right? Because the truth is, there are people in your life that would say certain things. Like if I called my best friend today and if I asked her, what does she think my big gifts are? She would definitely say encouragement. She would definitely say I'm very charismatic. She would say I love people, and she could see me teaching and speaking, and she would 100% say that. And other people may say other things. Like in church, they may say, oh girl, you encourage, you pray, other things like that, right? But asking people in your environment what they think your gifts are is helpful. That can't be the only way you hear. I'm just giving you a list of things to do. So you're writing what you're passionate about. What would you do if you weren't getting paid? What would people say? Is like, man, your purpose is that, right? What are other people saying? Okay. Then number 4, what has God said to you? This is the biggest one, right? And because a lot of times I think that as you're growing in your relationship with God, you may say, well, I don't really hear God. Like he doesn't talk to me. I don't ever hear him. But I would say that's not true. God is always speaking, always. The challenge that many of us have is that we don't know what it sounds like when he's speaking to us. Our world is so loud that he's not going to force you to listen, that you can't really hear because your world is so loud, right? And then third is because you don't believe what you're hearing. Okay. Now, as I was growing in my relationship with God, I didn't know what was going on. I was having dreams at night. I didn't understand them. I didn't even know you could dream with God because I wasn't reading the Bible like that. I didn't know that I just didn't know what was going on there. And I wasn't in an environment where they were talking about dreams and dream interpretation and writing down your dreams and just all this stuff. I just wasn't aware of. But he speaks really loud. Like really, really, really loud. I'll give you an example. Anytime I download a dating app, within 3 days, God will come on in my dreams and give me a nightmare. And I know exactly what he's saying. Get off the app. And I didn't know that until it just kept happening. Right. And then finally I would just be like, I think he's telling me get off these apps. So when I finally went to him and said, what's the problem with the dating apps? And he goes, they're not for you. And it's going to hurt you more than it's going to help you. And I'm like, okay, right? And so don't get me wrong. I still have my temptation to want to be on dating apps. Your girl's been single for 10 years, but I've learned, I hear God in dreams, but also I hear God just like, I hear things that don't really make sense to me. It's not what I would say, So like, for example, sometimes I'll say, well, God, I can't find my glasses. I can't find this. I can't find that. Right. Like one day I was looking for my passport and I was like, I don't know where my passport is. God, can you help me find my passport? And he said, yeah. And so I'm going without the next day. And I'm like, can't find my passport. And then all of a sudden he says, go look over there. And it was a drawer, like my TV stand. And I was like, okay, open the drawer, bam. And it was there. Whoa, that wasn't me. Right. I remember when I was going through divorce and I was just like, God, what is going on? And he told me that I was dealing with a lot of resistance with my ex-husband because of whatever was going on with him. And he showed me that in a dream. And so I woke up and was like, well, what do you want me to do? He goes, I want you to write him a letter. Ain't no way. He said, write him a love letter. I was like, ain't no way I'm writing that dude a love letter. He's cheating on me. There is no way. But I knew that wasn't me. I knew it wasn't me because ain't no way I would do that. And guess what I did? I did it. I was like, I don't know what this is going to solve, but I will go ahead and do it. Right? Wrote this 3 long page letter. And I started off by saying, I forgive you. And then I just encouraged him for the next 3 pages. Just encouraged him. Right? And because he wouldn't sign the papers. Within 24 hours, those papers were signed. That I heard from God, right? And so when it comes to us and our ability to hear God about our purpose, he's talking. It's just oftentimes we aren't listening, right? Or we're not even asking. You know what I mean? And so you've got to spend some time asking him. Now you can ask him once, twice, 50,000 times. This is your whole purpose in life. You've got an amazing opportunity to sit with him over and over and over and over again. Say, God, what am I called to do? You can ask him that while you're washing your dishes, while you're driving. You can ask him right now while you're listening and you're watching until you know that you know that you know. Why not? Right? If you want a raise at your job, guess what you're going to do? You're going to keep asking for a raise until you get it. If you want to know your life's purpose, the creator of the universe, the creator of you, you're going to want to ask him. And I guarantee you, he cares more about you knowing your purpose than you do. Okay. So if you don't ask anybody, you definitely need to ask him. Okay. And then the 5th and final thing is take a spiritual gifts assessment. Now I have one. You can find it here in the show notes and you can find it here on YouTube in the description. But a spiritual gifts assessment is going to help start steering you in the right direction. Okay. You take the assessment and at the end of it, you're going to see, oh, so I'm strong in this, and this. Oh, I thought this was thing. Interesting. I'm very weak in that, right? That's going to give you a little bit of a blueprint as well, right? Because you're identifying what you're passionate about. What would you do if you didn't get paid for it? What do people say is a huge gift of yours? What God is saying to you. And then a spiritual gifts assessment. What's going to happen is that all those things, you're going to go, interesting. Okay, this is making a whole lot of sense. And then when you start down that journey or down that road so to speak, you're going to find yourself being like, I really do enjoy this, right? Especially when you do what God says, because there's so many blessings and peace about being exactly who you're called to be and doing exactly what you're called to do. That it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It just means there's just so much amazingness in going down that direction, you know? And like, I know for me, like I love speaking, I love encouraging. And when I think about doing certain things, I'm like, nah, that's not my thing. Like going on mission trips, that's not my thing. Right. But being here, speaking, teaching, encouraging, preaching, man, I love this stuff. You know what I mean? And I would do it forever. And then when I watch how people respond to me, I'm like, I'm in my gift. I'm watching how they respond to me. I am in my lane. You know what I mean? And so it's important for you to go down this journey. Okay. Now, if you got any questions about this, make sure you ask me here on YouTube. Or if you are listening on the podcast, come follow me on Instagram at Kia Kelly and let me know you listen to the show and ask me any questions. Okay. So thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I always appreciate you caring about what I have to say about me and Jesus and you and Jesus. So thanks for listening and thanks for watching.